Canada's Cree Aboriginal peoples are joining the climate camp protest in London, England this week in an attempt to draw attention to corporate Britain's involvement in the tar sands project here in Canada. British Petroleum and Shell are two companies extracting oil from the tar sands. The thick and sticky oil can only be removed from the sands by using a lot of water and power, as well as producing far heavier carbon dioxide emissions. Well, for more on the Cree protest in London, we're joined on the line from San Francisco, California by Clayton Thomas-Mueller. He is the tar sands campaign organizer for the Indigenous Environmental Network. He's also a member of the Mathilas Column Cree Nation from northern Manitoba. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Mr. Thomas, we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
So first of all, what has the response been to the Cree protests?
Well, I think, we were pretty overwhelmed by just the incredible empathy that was shown by, the progressive, very supportive community in the UK that's fighting for, climate justice. The Indigenous Environmental Network, through our Canadian Indigenous Tar Sands campaign, supported both Dene and Cree representatives from the communities of Mikisew Cree First Nation and Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation, both communities of which are in Alberta's oldest settlement, Fort Chipewyan, to participate in the London Climate Camp for Action. Throughout the week, we provided workshops and plenaries. We screened a film, all profiling the tremendous violation of human rights and ecological destruction that the world's largest and most destructive project represents. And the response from many that came to our workshops and plenaries, and the hundreds that came to the protests that we organized at the Canada House, the equivalent of the British Canadian Embassy, as well as BPHQ, was immense.
Is it fair to say that the majority of British people aren't familiar with the tar sands project, or weren't until your group drew attention to it?
Definitely, I think that's fair to say. I think internationally, Canada and more specifically the tar sands development has garnered a lot of international attention, and many have been exposed to the headlines. However, after this week's events, I think it's safe to say that there is a dialogue that's happening in the United Kingdom, including in the United Kingdom's Parliament. We did meet with one of the progressive MPs while we were there, who will be leading a discussion in the UK Parliament in November, coinciding with a subsequent tour that we'll be organizing to start discussing the carbon emission implications of Canada's tar sands.
What about the response from British Petroleum?
Well, we did send a letter to the CEO, Tony Hayward, of British Petroleum before our journey to the United Kingdom. We did not get any response. However, both BP Canada and BP HQ in the United Kingdom did engage a little with the media, basically saying that they haven't decided whether or not to proceed with the Sunrise Project, which is a very important fact, and also the reason why we decided to target British Petroleum, now known as BP, because of the fact that, in the recent announcement, they've partnered with Canadian-based Husky Energy in a 200,000 barrel per day project, and they haven't really made the decision of whether or not they're going to move in. They've kind of bought the house, but they haven't decided whether they're going to move into it or not. And so we have a strategic opportunity in collaboration with UK-based climate campaigners to target BP and to force them to make the socially responsible decision. And more importantly, we have an opportunity to target the financiers of British Petroleum and the investors in terms of UK-based banks like Royal Bank of Scotland, Barclays, and HBC, to get them out of tar sands as well, or at least to get them away from British Petroleum's tar sands project.
All right, Clayton Thomas-Mueller, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much for your insights today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.